The black man should only marry the black woman, then I wouldn't exist. Let's look at Dr. Umar's policy for an interracial marriage ban. So essentially, you want a state where the state regulates who the black man marries. So within the black nation, the government should regulate who the black man marries. What kind of political ideology is that? That is socialist totalitarianism. So essentially far left totalitarianism. In socialist China, you see a similar policy where the state regulates that the family can only have one child. So Dr. Umar is proposing a policy that constitutes a major violation of the individual freedom of the black man and the black woman. African people in the West have freedom to marry whoever they want right now in the West. Why would African people leave that and join a black socialist totalitarian state where people like Dr. Umar regulate the family? Number two, if you look at the African continent, there's no such thing as an interracial marriage because African people don't think in terms of race. Continental Africans like Fulani marry based on lineage and religion. Therefore, one is not eligible to marry a Fulani woman or a Wolof woman for that matter just because one identifies them as black. These marriage traditions are 10,000 years old. Let me get this straight. Dr. Umar, Mr. African, wants to remove Fulani identity, Wolof identity, Yoruba identity, Igbo identity, change the way continental Africans see themselves, identify themselves, how they marry, and how they see marriage based on their 10,000-year ancient African cultures, and impose on them a race-based way of marrying. When race is a colonial ideology that comes from the West to oppress African people. If Dr. Umar wants to be so African, should he not then learn how African people actually marry based on the 10,000-year ancient culture? Number three, black and white in America is not completely applicable to Afro-Europeans because most people in their neighborhood who are discriminated here in Europe are actually brown people. From the Middle East, North Africa, also Asia like Pakistan. Yes, you have Africans like Nigerians and so on, but most people would be immigrants coming to the hood, living in low-income neighborhoods, interacting together with one another. So you would have black and brown of different complexion. Black woman, what does that mean? Is that a Latina woman? Is that a Middle Eastern woman? Is that a Pakistani woman? It becomes very, very, very absurd to try to project black and white in a European context. Here, the discrimination issues are class-based, not necessarily race-based, although race is a part of the class issue. Conclusion, when you break down Dr. Umar's no interracial marriage policy suggestion, you actually see it's not thought through at all. And I conclude Dr. Umar is not serious. He's doing it for selfish reasons to appeal to the African American woman and get more support that way.
What's up guys, welcome back to Charly Reacts. So there is a video going viral now claiming that black and white interracial marriages could be banned in the United States. So people are sharing a video of Mike Braun and linking it to something called Project 2025. But real question is this actually happening, or is it the internet running too fast with the story? So let's get to it.
Indiana U.S. Senator Mike Braun stirring up controversy with comments he made today about interracial marriage and abortion.
It happened as he discussed what he looks for when evaluating Supreme Court nominees. Senator Braun was on a conference call with media talking about what he's looking for when it comes to the nomination process of Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. That is because the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding confirmation hearings for Jackson. Braun says what he wants out of a Supreme Court justice is someone who interprets the law, not someone who acts as an activist. Braun told reporters that he views the Supreme Court decision to legalize abortion as a case of judicial activism. He says it's an issue that should have been left up to each individual state. And when asked by a reporter, he said the 1967 Supreme Court decision to legalize interracial marriage should have been left up to the states, not the federal government. This is the entirety of what he said.
When it comes to issues, you can't have it both ways. When you want that diversity to shine within our federal system, there are going to be rules and proceedings. They're going to be out of sync with maybe what other states would do. It's the beauty of the system, and that's where the differences among points of view in our 50 states ought to express themselves. And I'm not saying that rule would apply in general, depending on the topic, but it should mostly be in general, because it's hard to have it on issues that you just are interested in when you deny it for others with a different point of view.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
And by the way, Senator Braun said that Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson seems well qualified, but says he will wait for the process to play out before he makes his decision on whether or not to approve her nomination. A statement tonight from the Indiana Democratic Party, quote, Mike Braun's words and views are not only un-American, but beneath any respectable person wishing to hold public office. The United States Supreme Court has affirmed many times that marriage equality in our country extends to any committed couple, regardless of sex, race, orientation, or religious affiliation. And to question that legitimacy questions the very fabric of America and its people.
The senator of Indiana, Senator Mike Braun, just said that interracial marriage should be a decision that's taken over by the states. Remember what happened when they did that with abortion and now it's illegal in a bunch of states? That's what they're going to try to do. And after interracial marriage, not even after, maybe at the same time, they will be coming for gay marriage next. When y'all voted this Trump wannabe into office, I knew some dumb shit was about to happen. He's already cut Medicaid, been super pro-Israel, given them a bunch of money, supported a bunch of huge corporations, and given them no tax cuts. This is the list of everyone who's gotten bribes from AIPAC. And, oh, there's he is. And you sold out to Israel for $75,000. Good to know. A lot of other people sold out for more. But, yeah, if you go to Open Secrets, you can see all the people who were given money by AIPAC. Top Democrats who love Israel, of course, at the top. Chuck Schumer. Yup, makes sense. Now, what do we do? One, direct action is the only thing that politicians actually care about. Blocking them, protesting, going into their way to make things harder for them. And that's when they actually start listening. In 2020, when they did all the protests for the police, it was only when protests turned violent and when senators actually started to be intimidated by the level of people who were coming out, by the number of people who were coming out, and that's when they actually had started defunding the police. Now, did those things stay in place? And have they defunded the police at all? Since then, no. We have actually funded the police even more. These are genuinely scary times, but invest in your communities, disrupt politicians, get in their way, make them uncomfortable, call them, vote in local elections. I'll be posting more about that. And yeah, get married interracially as soon as possible, because that may be going away. From a product of interracial marriage. Hopefully it doesn't, but...
Alright, here's what's going on. That video of Mike Braun comes from an interview where he was asked about whether states should have the power to decide certain rights. His answer raised a lot of fibers because it sounded like he was open to state having more control even on issues people thought were already settled. Now this is where things get more serious. Interracial marriage in the United States is protected by a Supreme Court decision called Loving v. Virginia that ruling made it illegal for states to ban interracial marriages. So for that to change today, it wouldn't just happen overnight. It will take major legal shift. Now, let's talk about Project 2025. A lot of people online are saying it includes the plans to ban interracial marriage, but when you actually look into it, there is no clear official policy that directly says that. So, what are we really saying here? A controversial video, strong reactions, and social media running into something even bigger. So that doesn't mean people's concern don't matter, but it does mean we have to be careful about jumping to conclusions.
Feels like interracial marriage bans should be a thing of the past, but they're not. Anti-miscegenation bans, which prevented people like me from marrying a woman like my beautiful Snow White wife, those laws were ended in the dramatic and powerful Loving versus Virginia case in 1967. Even with that, though, Alabama was the last state to repeal its interracial marriage laws and didn't repeal them until 2000. That's not so distant history for us. But I recently learned an even more not so distant history case about interracial marriage bans still being subversely carried out. The Equal Justice Initiative noted that on this day, October 9th, 2009, and I'm going to read it to you, Beth Humphrey, a white woman from Hammond, Louisiana, called Keith Bardwell, a white justice of the peace of over 30 years in Tapianga Parish, to ask him to sign a license for her to marry Terrence McKay, a black man. Mr. Bardwell, the justice of the peace, Mr. Bardwell's wife, informed Ms. Humphrey that he would not sign a marriage license for an interracial couple. And Mr. Bardwell defended his actions, insisting that he does not believe in mixing races in any way. Sounds insane? Well, it's not. Deep roots take a really long time to uproot, and so we have to continue to be mindful, to be present, and to be active in creating holy trouble in our world so that injustices like this are not continuing to happen in our world. Let's together make the world more like the kingdom of God.
Trump supporters scare me, dog. Interracial marriage is now illegal in Tennessee. Interracial marriage is now illegal. Like black and white falsies, black stay with black, white stay with white. It's now illegal. That's why all that bullshit, like, bro, I love everything Dr. Umar be saying, but interracial marriage and couples, like, I feel like that's an attack on people who have families, like 3 generations in, 5 generations in. Like, this is weird. Like, it's becoming cult when you involve religion into governments, dude. It starts division. It's crazy. Like, what? And how can anybody vote state to state? That should be up to the people. It shouldn't be up to the state. That's so stupid.
Intercultural marriages struggle in the United States. It's about high versus low context cultures. If you're in an intercultural marriage in the US, this is the #1 thing causing misunderstandings: high context versus low context communication. In high context cultures, people feel the meaning. Communication is emotional, intuitive, subtle, full of unspoken cues. Examples are Russia, Latin America, Middle East, or Asia. In low context cultures, people say the meaning. Communication is literal, direct, straightforward. Examples are USA, Germany, Scandinavian countries. In real marriage, high context partner goes, "You should feel I'm upset." Low context partner, "If you don't tell me, I won't know." High context partner, for them, silence equals distance. For low context partner, silence equals peace. High context partner wants emotional closeness. Low context partner wants calm and clarity. And it has nothing to do with personality, it's cultural programming. So what are the top problems? Emotional misreadings. One partner reads tone and mood, the other focuses only on words. Different love languages. One needs reassurance and involvement, the other shows love through independence and respect. Then opposite conflict styles. One escalates to feel understood, the other withdraws to avoid conflict. Comment context if you want part 2, how to fix this cultural clashes in marriage.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something.
Bro, no way.
Yes, dude.
No
yes.
way.
We have senators coming out and saying no more interracial marriage being like protected.
Why would a state be able to decide if a white person can marry a non-white person?
Because the federalist system, what if some states don't want you can't have federalism in some instances and not federalism in other instances. Whenever people get into like federalist arguments as a way to try and hide their bigotry for things like interracial marriage, gay marriage, or segregation, or genuinely like whatever, they're just doing it because there's no way that anyone can reasonably come out as against interracial marriage and be taken seriously in public life. So they have to hide it behind law and technicality.
Yeah, no, they can't do it at the federal level. There's no way a federal law would ever pass banning interracial marriage, at least not yet. So they want to defer to states because they know some states will be able to do it. They're just maximizing the amount of damage they can do.
Because small government to a conservative is government that's just as small as I can control it at, and not any smaller than that, because they want to take away rights.
U.S. citizens will not be able to bring their spouse to the United States if the spouse is from one of these 75 countries. I'm Latoya McBean-Pompey, an immigration lawyer in New York. You might have already heard the devastating news that the administration has decided to pause the immigrant visa processing for your spouse. And you're probably scrambling and devastated, obviously thinking about the fact that you've done all of the right things, you've paid all of the fees, you've filled out all of those paperwork, you are probably just waiting now for an embassy interview date. Firstly, do not panic, okay? I know this is devastating, but do not panic. Number two, it's indefinite because the government has given some strange rationale for this pause, which will be challenged, guys. It will be challenged. And the rationale that they've provided is the fact that they would like to ensure that your spouse will not be a burden.
I generally don't think they should be trusted. There's always an agenda. All of a sudden, you're seeing all these push for interracial dating. That's an agenda. The agenda is to make sure you guys start to have interracial babies, and once those little mixed babies are born, they go towards the white side. Never fails. If you really pay attention, mixed race people tend to go towards the white side. So that way they can wash out your race. They can start whitening the race. That's an agenda. People are not to be trusted.
So personally, I think this shows how fast information and misinformation can spread online. One short video can turn into a huge narrative before even most people check the full context. And that's why conversations like this matter. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you think this is something people should worry about? Or is this like another case social media blowing mind? So drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want more videos like this, please don't forget to share, like, comment, and join the family. This is Charly Reacts. I will see you in the next one. Love you guys. Bye bye.